Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. Bitcoin is pulling back today and the rest of the market is following suit. Does this mean we're about to see a bigger correction, or is this ultimately just a pullback before we get a next high? I'm going to be breaking it down, explaining a couple different scenarios that I think could play out and how to best position ourselves moving forward from here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, here we are. I'm going to make it short and simple because I don't really feel very good today, but I didn't want to just not record a video, so here we are. Now, right off the bat guys, if we're getting into the shorter time frames, Bitcoin is seeing a massive sell-off from the breakout that we ended up seeing yesterday. Now, as we're looking at this, we pretty much are at the final level of support if we want to see bullish structure actually hold. And so when we're going to be watching this, we basically need to be holding this level here. Right where we're at, right here snug. This was the range high of the last move, and then this is where we ended up finding support. And now if we were to hold support inside of this same area, I do think that that could set us up for further continuation, but this is a pretty nasty sell-off to see on the downside. The only real thing that we could see is potentially this being just a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 with an extended 5 followed by this funky looking ABC with an extended wave C. That's kind of the Elliott wave count that I could see potentially playing out, but at the same time it's hard to really say. The big thing I'm mainly watching for is whether we're going to hold this level, because if aside from the Elliott wave count, as long as we can hold this as support and make the next potential leg up, I do think that that sets us in for a higher high. Whereas if we come all the way down here, we drop, this starts acting as resistance, then most likely we're coming all the way back down to these, at least back down to here, and potentially all the way back down to maybe 34.5. That means that that entire green candle we saw would have been already retraced. So if we're looking at that, if we end up retracing the entire candle over here, then I would personally be looking for a potential retest of all the way back down at maybe 34, or all the way back down at maybe 33.5, or right over here at maybe 34.2. Those two levels would be kind of the area I would be watching for, but that's if we lose it up here. And don't be surprised if this happens, just because the way our consolidation is looking, if we were to drop and then lose this support and it starts acting as resistance, in my opinion, we could definitely be in for an entire retrace all the way back down to that level being 33.5. And I wouldn't be surprised if it came back down and also hit like 34. Anywhere from 33.5 to 34, somewhere in here. Don't be surprised if that happens and we have an entire flush of this range that we've been consolidating in. And the reason I say that, so this is the type of price action I'm talking about. We see these like rising wedges type patterns, and then we see these flushes of pretty much the entire range going all the way back near the range lows. And that was the case throughout every one of these little moves. Big flushes all the way back down, and we ended up having two of these, right? We had this one that came back down probably more towards the mid-range of that last consolidation, and then we had this one that ended up retesting all the way back down at the beginning of the last move. So two different types of scenarios, but this is the type of consolidation that we're kind of in right now. So this is kind of what I was referencing to when we're looking at the consolidation. So it does line up. It's obviously got its own differences at the same time, but when I'm looking at this, to me it kind of looks the same. Like, we could just be in for some type of big flush of that range coming all the way back down to here, maybe even all the way to the range lows if we got a really bad one. Do I think it would go lower than that? I don't think it would be going lower than that unless we saw an entire breakdown from this impulse. I think that we'll most likely end up holding support up here, even if we came and retested those lows before making that next leg up. I don't think it would change anything. For me, if we came and started losing that level, then we could be looking at an entire reversion back down to that same sort of consolidation that we'd been on. Because every time we'd had a breakout, pullback, breakout, pullback, breakout, pullback. So we had this breakout, and this would be the first time that we haven't seen pretty much an immediate pullback to that same trend line like this. So it's still a scenario we have to at least keep in the backs of our minds, because if we ended up topping, where we're pretty much at, my first target was 40K. So I mean, like, we're really close to that level. We're only a couple $1,000s off. So we've had a significant move to the upside. I still tend to believe that we'll end up seeing that move all the way up to 48.5. But it really depends on how this consolidation goes. On the shorter time frames, we're really just watching 36,000, because if we start losing 36,000, this thing starts dropping, kind of like what we're already seeing right now. We're getting really close at that level. It's kind of at the last line of defense. If we lose that, you know, we're looking at this ending up being some type of deeper correction, in my opinion. Most likely going to 34.5 and potentially back down to those range lows. Now, when we're looking at Ethereum, I like to look at this on a weekly time frame because, in my opinion, it looks really solid still. Regardless of how Bitcoin looks in the shorter time frames, we're actually seeing Ethereum flipping a really important level as support. So this is a weekly level, and we're going to be analyzing from the candle bodies, not the wicks. And we can see how this was the range high in our first breakout going back from June. We ended up breaking out for a short period, and then the second we closed back below that level as resistance, it was that same exact level that we were pretty much grinding on before our lower low. So we've just actually flipped this level back as support. So looking at ETH, to me, ETH looks a lot better than Bitcoin does. ETH is actually holding support. ETH looks like it could potentially go higher. Depending on what Bitcoin does. So if Bitcoin starts ranging and we end up finding support in here, do not be surprised if ETH starts taking off. It's just that Bitcoin looks a little bit off. We don't know exactly what's going to happen because of the fact we've retraced this entire move for the most part. It's starting to look a little bit weak. This is a decent sized rejection candle. So like I said, if we don't hold support relatively soon where we're at right now, then, you know, this candle could change a little bit considering I am on a weekly time frame. Looking on the daily, it looks a lot more weak where ETH is actually fully retraced that entire candle. For the most part, it's sitting all the way back down here at the range lows. So when I'm looking at ETH looks a lot weaker than all of the market. You know, we had this massive rejection up here, and then we've pretty much retraced the entirety of this move. So as far as ETH goes, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to see this one pull back a little bit further. If Bitcoin holds support in here and we see a decent bounce, then, I mean, ETH is going to follow too. I don't think ETH is going to break down. But the way ETH is looking could actually be an early indication of what Bitcoin is going to do. You know, if ETH were to lose this support, in my opinion, we'd be looking for a move all the way back down to 18.5 and probably back down to even 17.70, all the way back down in here. If we were to clear this entire range, that wouldn't surprise me at all. And that's what we could be looking at here. Because if we look at the Elliott waves, for ETH, we do have the potential of this being 5 waves up. And if that's the case, this was probably wave B, and we'd be looking for another wave C, whether that's just to here at 18.5 or whether we come all the way back down to the wave 4. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see either of those things. ETH generally will get more overextended, and so just don't be surprised if we end up seeing some type of a deeper pullback regardless of the two. Because as you guys can tell right now, Bitcoin is starting to see even more downside. It's looking like we may end up actually losing this level. So I'd just be aware of that, you know, play it safe. You don't want to be in a ton of leverage. You don't want to be jumping into too many crazy things. But during times where Bitcoin starts ranging, generally speaking, that's where a lot of altcoins are going to start moving. So don't be surprised if altcoins do start moving in a big way. However, if we end up correcting all the way back down in here, altcoins are going to fill it too, and there will be good buying opportunities. So you just want to be aware of all of these things. Anyways, guys, if you found value in this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these updates. If you guys want to join the Discord server, see how I'm investing my money, what altcoins I'm going to be buying if we end up dipping lower, links are in the description to go ahead and check that out on my website. It's a one-time payment, lifetime access. You'll always have access to anything I'm doing investing-wise inside of the markets, even outside of crypto too. So check it out. Links are in the description. And with that being said, I will catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.